Hello and welcome to Sunday Run Data podcast. This week we're joined by Lucia. Now, Lucia is one of the first Australians to finish the Sevens major marathons and done it in Sydney in such a spectacular way. So, first of all, I'd like to welcome Lucia to the show.
Thanks, Clint. Really appreciate you having me on.
So, as I just talked about, you're obviously one of only a few Australians, and I actually did get the numbers. So, first of all, I will say there is 4,469 seven-star finishes. And of those people, only 310 Australians, and to make it even more amazing, only 126 females. So, massive congratulations on that feat.
Thank you. It's such when you break it down like that, it just makes it even more special to say I'm one of those few people.
Oh, it's amazing. It really is. And to see the numbers, I looked at it just before we jumped on and I was just amazed by the numbers as well. Just kind of break it down in such few people. So congratulations, as I said. But what actually I wanted to talk about a little bit is not only did you run the Sydney Marathon, you are a Sydney Marathon community ambassador,
Correct.
but also you were pacing the Sydney Marathon. And my first question there I really wanted to ask is what actually inspires you to take on that challenge of being the final pacer for the Sydney Marathon?
I think for me, this is actually the second time I've paced Sydney. My first pacing experience was in 2023 for Sydney when it was the absolute scorching race. So I was one of the 7 hour pacers. And for me now, it's about giving back to a sport that's given me so much because as you said, I'm very fortunate. I've done all the 6 majors and now Sydney as well. So running has given me so much. So if I can help anyone achieve their goal of crossing that finish line, because really at the back of the pack, as I say, that's where you see the real grit and determination, because those people they're out there sometimes for even 7+ hours. And being a sweeper was so much fun because there were a lot of people struggling. Unfortunately, some people did get cut off early on in the course. As we were coming around the rocks, I was with one guy. I think he was from South America, and I'm like, "Oh, are you okay?" Language was a bit of a barrier. He goes, "Oh, am I done? Am I done?" I'm like, "No, keep going, keep going." So being able to help people achieve their dream, as I said, unfortunately, some people were cut off because we were literally the last people to start. So
Yeah.
people just had to keep ahead of us, and then they'd be okay. But it's the satisfaction as we're coming along. As we're coming back up the hill from Miss Macquarie's chair, I was with this lady from America, and she had her husband on the sidewalk. She was struggling. She was struggling big time, and so I was trying to chat to her. And my
Yeah.
tagline on the day was, "You're going to be part of history. When are you going to get the chance to say you ran a major in its first year? Sorry, you ran a marathon in its first year as a major. Those
Yeah.
chances don't come up very often. So yeah, you're in pain now, but I'm like, trust me, when you turn that corner, when you get to Macquarie Street, you're going to see the Opera House soon enough. You're not going to get a view like that." So I was just trying to give people that were struggling just words of encouragement, trying to take their mind off things, asking them the most random questions. Like one of the questions we asked was, if you have scones, do you put jam or cream on first? Just to get their mind away from, yeah, I'm in pain. And like some of the looks we got, but it was just so much fun. Being able to help so many people is just I was very grateful I was given that opportunity.
No, that's incredible. I love that you touched on that question. I'm actually from the UK originally, and in Cornwall, where I actually grew up and I'm from, we have that thing of if you're from Cornwall, so you have your jam and scones is very different with the cream and jam to if you live in Devon. So I love that was that question. It's so funny. And as you say, just the fact that you were there to be able to help people achieve goals, and I love that, and being there and just trying to encourage those people. As you say, be part of history is not every day you get an opportunity to run the first year that a marathon is a major, and we were so fortunate and lucky to be able to do that in Sydney and to be able to encourage those people as well. And I guess it kind of leads on to a little bit of my next question is, what kind of emotions did you observe, from the runners as they're sort of approaching just that final stretch as well? As they're getting there, it's been a hard slog, as you say, for some of them maybe have injuries, some of them are just really trying to get there. What sort of emotions must have that been?
It was a lot of thank God it's over type thing. But I'll come back to that in a sec. But as 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 we're coming along the course, people could see us coming. So being a sweeper, people either love you or they hate you because they know that their journey could potentially be over. But it's like, just keep up with us and you'll be fine. But the emotions we saw, because unfortunately, a lot of the people that finished with us, they would have been classified as a DNF because they came in after 3:15, which was the official cutoff time for Sydney.
Right. Okay.
Um, but people at that point, they didn't care. They were just so happy that they did it. Some people, you could tell, they were just like, "Oh, thank God it's over." Some people, it's like, yes, I've done it. The hard work has paid off. So it was really mixed bag. And some people, it's like, I'm never doing it again. Some people are like, no, I'm doing it again because I want to do better. So it's really interesting seeing all the different emotions at that stage of the race.
Yeah, for sure. And as you say, like I think when you get to that stage as well, for a lot of those runners, the DNF is irrelevant for them because that's on a bit of paper.
Yeah.
It's the fact that they still got there, they still crossed the finish line, and they've got a story to tell about that, their journey of getting there, however it was. And as you say, that emotional at the finish line, different emotions. People just so happy it's over. I think when I'd done my first marathon, that is exactly my emotions. I was very happy it was over, and I'd never do it again. And here we are, all of us later, doing more. But that's
Exactly.
really amazing that you were able to experience so many different things on the course. And as you said, with the support you were giving out there as well with the runners, how was that throughout the race? You touched on a little bit with obviously trying to give them that support. How was that during the whole time of that support of the community, shall I say?
I think in certain parts it was great because from where Sydney has been to where it was this year, I'm going to make a pretty big call, but in terms of the atmosphere and how the city came alive, on par with Boston.
Wow.
The city was just so electric. There are some places in which they need to try and encourage people to stay out more. And one part would be as we were coming down Anzac Parade. It was fine as we were coming down because it was kind of like the out and back and we could see people, but it was as we were coming back in, the
Right.
crowds were dwindling a little bit, but yet where there were crowds, fantastic. It's I don't know, like and the Pont 3 team, which is the company which manages the marathon, they did a great job in terms of trying to get the community out, getting the vibe out there, and to encourage people to support because they had a lot of activation. So it's just I think the thing is they've got it. People need to try and stay out there, maybe towards the back end, just because when people just see people giving them a hand, clapping, cheering them on, it does lift their spirits up. But as I said, from where the marathon has been in terms of support to where it is now, it's just unbelievable. So it was, yeah, each time we used to see people, you could tell the people, they would get excited by people saying, yeah, yeah, you've got this. But one thing which made us laugh, I can't remember which K mark it was. It was very early on in the race, and someone's like, "You're nearly there." It's like, we're not nearly there. Don't say it to the people. We're not nearly there, and we're trying to laugh at the same time. But yeah, crowd support was so great this year because I think a lot of people understood what it meant Sydney being a major.
Yeah, I testament to that. I mean, to be fair, I'm actually sitting here with a little bit of goosebumps. Just bring back those feels because, yeah, I touched on that as well with my wife. We were lucky enough to be there, and yeah, just the way Sydney has improved. We were again very fortunate to be there last year as well. It's not last year, the year before, where it was the heat wave. I certainly struggled in that. It wasn't for me. But yeah, to see the difference in just the space of a couple years, and as you say, even from last year, from what I heard, I do agree with you. I think Sydney, it was absolutely electric. The feels around Sydney, the city as well, just for the days leading up to the marathon. And he said a support out there on the course. There's a lot of really amazing activation sites, like you say. I think there's some really good areas where, yeah, you did need that little bit extra help and you felt it. But I do agree with you. I think sometimes like you do get to the tail end of it. And those are the people that really do need that little bit extra encouragement. I always like to try and stay around towards the finish line with my wife at the end to see the people coming in because I for one, I'm absolutely in awe of people that are out there for the amount of time like yourself is out there still one foot in front of the other and getting to the finish line. I'm just absolutely in awe of that. And it's amazing achievements.
Because there was one part as we were coming into as we were coming past the art gallery, that's where a lot of the run clubs were. And I wasn't expecting to see many people. but there were two run clubs which I saw, which I know, and just seeing them, like we started having a dance. I think at that point I may have been a bit delirious, but it's like knowing just like about another 2Ks to go and we've got this. But we were just the fact that they were out there all day, like
Yeah.
I think to me that's even probably tougher than doing the marathon.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think them, as you say, they're out there for multiple hours, being out there supporting, and they have the energy. I love the fact that everywhere you went within Sydney and on the course, there was the energy. There was people there to really build people up and try and get people across the finish line. And I really did love that about Sydney.
You know, it was really good this year. They did amazing stuff. Pont three.
No, that's amazing. And one thing that I got, and I've first seen your story on Instagram where it was actually the Temple Journal. They put it on there, and I read about your story, and I was really taken back by it. I thought it was amazing. But one of your quotes on there, which really stuck with me, and I loved it, it was when you said, "It's all about the finish lines, not the finish times." And I love that because I think we all chasing whatever it may be during the race and our goals. We have different goals, but the fact that it is about the finish line. We want to get to that finish line, and it doesn't matter how long it takes us to get there.
Exactly. Now, I do have to credit a good friend of mine, Tara Ellis, because it is her tagline, which I use quite a lot. But ultimately, it is about the finish lines and not finish times because everyone's journey is different. You may have a goal A, but then for some reason, if it doesn't happen on the day, which has happened to me multiple times, in the end, as you said, it doesn't matter how you finish it because one of the other messages which I try and get out is that running is one of the few sports that doesn't discriminate. You run the same course, everyone gets the same medal. People are
Yeah.
cheering no matter where you are at any point in the race. And I don't think there's many sports which offer that.
No, I do agree. And I think it's with running, what I love about it, the community around it is how supportive we are of everyone. And I think the people there run super fast and they win these events, they're amazing. We're all in awe of them because they're incredible athletes and incredible individuals. But then it's those people also in awe of the people that are out there for the 6, 7 hours at a time and getting to the finish line. And we all are so supportive. And all we care about is when it comes to marathons, especially with Sydney, is however many people started, is however many people want to finish. And we want everyone to achieve that finish. And yes, whether you made your goal or not, sometimes we have those runs and I a testament to it. I get to that point where my goal's gone and all I think about is I just want to get to the finish. No matter how I get there, I want to get to the finish.
Exactly. Yeah, no, and I've had many races like that as well, but then I've been fortunate that some races have gone to plan perfectly. So you have to take the good with the bad.
Oh yeah, 100%. But how must that have felt for you though, to be, one of those people helping, people cross the finish line, especially those, as I said, at the back of the pack, and they're ones that at times probably are struggling with maybe injuries or they're just, really struggling to get through that. How did it feel for you to be that real supportive person and helping those people across the line?
It was so amazing because right at the end, as we're coming down the finishing chute, the Pont 3 team, they'd done like a tunnel of scream, as I call it. And because we had brought me, my pacing partner, we had brought someone down the hill with us. And I'm like, you're going to finish in front of us. So you go ahead. And then I got my second, I got maybe my third or fourth wind. And I'm just running down the finishing chute, high fiving everyone because it was such an electric atmosphere. And to say that, yeah, I ran Sydney in its first year as a major. And I felt people achieved that dream. And then the other thing we did was once we crossed the finishing line, our pacing manager, he actually gave us our medals as well, which was really special for him to be there and to give us the medals. And a lot of us hung around just at the finish just to encourage everyone that came in and kind of not pushing them along, but just making sure that once, like, it's like, guys, just keep walking because it's going to be good for you to walk, keep walking. But it was a party atmosphere and it was a very humbling experience as well because as I mentioned, like being able to help people achieve their goal, which not everyone can do it.
Yeah.
And seeing the realization on people's faces, like, yeah, I've done it. And for me, it's like, yeah, I had a part to play in that. I helped that person finish it. And yeah, as I mentioned, for me, it's about giving back to a sport that's given me so much.
And that's amazing. And it really is that you are able there to help people, encourage them, and be a big part of history. And as you say, it is a massive part of history. You're one of the first Australians to finish the 7, obviously in the hometown of Sydney, which is just even better, makes it, super special. And I suppose my last question around the pacing, I really wanted to ask sort of, during the race and during the being the final pacer, what did you learn personally about sort of more resilience and community, during the race?
It's amazing that what what people will do when they have a goal in mind, and how people react differently to things, because unfortunately they some people had to pull out because they just weren't keeping up with us, and at that point the people understood. They weren't angry, whereas I think if it was people more at the front and if they had to finish because of medical issues, they'd probably be a bit more upset. But people who did it, and who unfortunately didn't make it, because there was some we were just about to turn into Moore Park, and some people had just missed the cutoff. But they're like, do you know what? We gave it a crack. We did our best, and that's all we can do. So it teaches you that being out there for that long, if you've got the right mindset, you can absolutely do anything you want. So it was really interesting seeing how people adapted to the situation differently.
No, that's amazing. It really is. And I think, yeah, just the fact that people are out there and giving it a go, and even if they didn't make it and they had to drop out, even having that mentality of like, well, you know what, we gave it a really good shot and we enjoyed what we done. It just wasn't meant to be this time. And then, as you say, build up, we'll come back stronger. And, I'm sure they certainly will, those people.
Exactly, 100% they will.
So I'd love to touch back a little bit about your running journey as well. Like, when you first started getting into running. So I've read a little bit, obviously, and, I wanted to read your story. And I think it's an amazing story, but I'd love you to tell a little bit of your story to our viewers.
Yeah, so how it all started, God, let's say maybe about 13 years ago or so. It started off as part of a weight loss journey. Um, and I did a 12-week program, and part of a week one was to do like a 1K time trial or something. So I did that. I'm like, okay, this running cape is a bit of fun. So then I did some 5K races and some 10K races, and then I thought, oh, marathon can't be that bad. So I remember this was for 2015. I'd entered both the Paris ballot and London. I didn't know London would be so hard to get into. And then I got an email to say that I got into Paris. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm doing this now then. So about 6 months before, I did my first half marathon in Melbourne, because I love the half marathon. I love the races in the Melbourne series in October, because finishing inside the G, it's absolutely brilliant. So I
Yeah.
thought, maybe I should do a bit of distance running prior to that. So I did that. So I did that first half marathon, and then I did Paris. When the saying goes, you got to respect the distance, that can't be any truer, because I really hit the wall at 30Ks. I was
Yeah.
struggling really, really bad. And I'll never forget, there was across the road, maybe about from where I was, about, I don't know, okay, there was a set of stairs. And I'm like, if I go up those stairs, I can be back in my hotel in 10 minutes. But I'm like, no, I've come this far. I want the t-shirt. I want the medal. And the hotel I'd picked, it was about a 10-minute walk from the finish line. But on the day of the marathon, it took me a good 40 minutes to walk back to the hotel, because each time I saw a bench, I was sitting down, because it was not a good day, but I did it. And so after that, about never again, not doing another one. 6 months later, I signed up for New York. So because it's amazing what you can do, because I think for me initially it was to prove some people wrong. Like, because people are like, oh, Luch, you can't do a marathon. I'm like, yeah, well, watch me.
Yeah.
I've always been a sporty and active person. And for me, running, what it's taught me more over the last couple of years is that the only way you get results if you put the work into it yourself. You can have a coach. A coach can write your plan, but if you don't follow the plan, you can't blame the coach if you don't get
Yeah.
the results. So it's the sport. Yeah, it's kind of a team sport, but ultimately it's an individual sport. If you don't put the work in, you're not going to get it. And then I started doing, most of my marathons have been overseas. And when I say that to people, I'm like, I'm going to sound like the biggest snob because I only do marathons overseas. But my theory is, if I'm going to do something as crazy as a marathon, why not go and enjoy it overseas? So I've been very fortunate. I've done some amazing trips, made some amazing friends, made some friends from when I did New York in 2016, and we're, yeah, lifelong friends now. as I mentioned, yeah, done all 7 stars now. It's just being able to do things that not everyone can. And and as I said, and because I'm a back of the pack runner, run, walk, it's I want people to realize it and understand it doesn't matter how you do it. You can walk more, run it more. It doesn't matter. It's the same distance, same medal. And I think that proving that a back of the pack people, you can do it.
No, and I love that because you're exactly right. It doesn't matter how you do it. In running is about how you do it, and it's your journey. And as you say, it is a bit of a team sport when you've got maybe run clubs and you've got friends around you supporting you. But it's very individualized as well, and it's you out there on the road, and however you want to do it is how you want to do it, and you achieve what you achieve. And I think that's incredible. And what you've achieved is amazing. And I love that you said, your Paris marathon there. Yeah, you got that moment when you're just like, oh, there's the stairs. Like, do I divert? But have that resilience, and you go, no, I'm doing this, and you did it. And then since then, you've backed it up by doing, as I say, all the majors now, which is incredible. But it's just achieving it yourself and for you, but to show people that. It doesn't matter who you are out there. If you want to achieve something, you can achieve it. Go out and do it, and you can do it. And I love that with you, that you've sort of gone out there, shown people that if I want to do it, I'll do it, and I did. That's incredible.
And I think also it's also about being able to acknowledge when things don't go your way. So I do some crazy things at times. So I've done the Disney Dopey Challenge before, which if you haven't heard of it, it's in Disney World over in Orlando. Thursday is 5K, Friday's 10K, Saturday's the half marathon, Sunday's the full marathon. Amazing experience. I want to do it again.
Oh, that's incredible.
This year, originally for Gold Coast this year, I was only going to do the double. So the half on the Saturday, the full on the Sunday. But then when they announced the schedule and they changed the 10K race to be on the Saturday, I'm like, let's do a Dopey Challenge, but in 2 days. So on the Saturday, the half 10 and the 5.
Wow.
On the Sunday, the full. So I was worried that I wouldn't make the time between the half and the 10. So thank God I had one of my friend's husband. He was my bag person. So he was at the end of the finish for each race. I quickly changed top and go. So I was worried about the Saturday, but the Saturday went well. Ironically, I wasn't worried about the Sunday. But on the Sunday, physically, I was fine. I had some blisters, but nothing major. But I started crying at around the 5K mark, and I'm like, I don't know why. And then just before 8Ks, when I got to an aid station, I said, where's the closest tram stop? I'm done. Whilst initially I was upset on the day, no one could talk to me because I'm like, I just need to be on my own. Yeah. But I know ultimately it was the right thing to do. Emotionally, I didn't have it in me. And people are like, oh, you took too much on. I'm like, yeah, I may have taken a bit too much on, like 100%. But to be able to acknowledge that it's not your race and to pull out sometimes takes more courage than to actually finish it. Because I'm like, I don't want to be out there for like 6 hours and be miserable. I wasn't going to have it. So looking back at that, it's also being able to know when is the right time to call something.
Yeah, and I agree for sure. You got to understand your body as well and understand how you're feeling, and physically and emotionally as well. Both of those things work together. And at that moment, that decision you made, yeah, you're upset. You're thinking maybe I should have carried on. All of that, you play it back in your mind. But then ultimately, when you look back and you go, I made the right decision for myself. And as much as I'm disappointed, I can look at it and learn from it and move forward. And sometimes they don't go to our plans, and we have to make those decisions. But I mean, the Dopey Challenge in Disney obviously is incredible. I think a lot of people have heard about that, and I love that you've completed that. It's amazing. And hats off to you for just attempting it in Gold Coast. Saying, you know what, I'm going to go for it. And you did. It wasn't to be. Well, there's always another time.
Exactly. So the plan is to do Gold Coast again next year, but I've had friends say to me, you're not doing all 4. I'm like, no, I'm just going to do the double next year. I've learned my mistake.
Oh, no, that's amazing. And I just want to touch on a little bit of just obviously the 6 stars, but now the 7 stars that we do. We're so lucky to have Sydney here. And I know we touched a little bit about obviously the atmosphere in Sydney, how we probably compare it, to Boston. I mean, I've been lucky that my wife, she done Boston this year, so I got to spectate from Boston and see it from that side of things. And I agree with you; it's absolutely electric in Boston for sure. And there's definitely the question to say like, what was your favorite marathon is always the difficult
It's
one.
oh,
But you can never choose. But what one really stood out to you, the most? Was it obviously Sydney being because it's a home event and being the first year? Or was there another one that just stood out for you for a different reason?
I'm gonna say Boston. The reason, like, for me, it's a real toss up between Boston and Sydney this year. But Boston, I knew so I did Boston in 24, and I knew that it was my one and only chance of doing Boston. I've never trained so hard for a race in my life because I had a goal under 6 hours. That was the
Yeah.
only goal. Even if it was 5:59:59, I didn't care. And people are like, oh, Luch, but what's your plan B? What's your plan C? There's no plan B or C. I'm going for it. But then on the day, it turned out to be an unseasonably hot day in Boston. So I'm like, great, here we go. But I stuck to my plan to perfection. So I did 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, did it perfect. And I realized, because in Boston, as you know, you've got the famous the famous two last turns, right into Hereford, left into Boylston. And just as I was about to turn left into Boylston, I'm like, I can get a PB here. So I was I was under the 6 hours, but I'm like, I can get a PB. But then literally, like, as soon as I turned, I was up to get a stitch. I'm like, oh, you're kidding me. Come on. Because I was running with, like, at that point, I was running with someone I was running with someone from the group I was with. And I'm like, Peter, just go. Don't, don't let me hold you up. But in the end, I still came in. It was at 5:52:39. I got a PB by a minute and 1 second. So to have that emotion of, I'm a Boston marathoner, I got a PB, and I got my 6 star. It's like, it was just such a surreal experience because I thought I was going to burst into tears crossing the finish line. But I think I was just so overcome with excitement and knowing that, yeah, all my hard work paid off. So I think in that aspect, Boston just beat Sydney this year, but just.
Oh, that's an incredible story, and yeah, I just imagine how you feel. I remember being there for my wife. Yeah, she come down to Boyce Street, and I was there with her parents, and she was so focused because a similar thing. She had at that time she was going to get a PB in Boston as well, and she was so focused. We were screaming at her, and she was gone, and she was just focused to get to the finish line. So yeah, I can definitely understand how you were feeling that moment. And they say around Boyston Street is just
Oh,
incredible. It's absolutely electric, and to get your 6 stars there as well is just yeah, amazing feeling. And yeah, big congratulations to you for that.
thank you. Yeah, it was pretty special to get it in Boston. I never planned for it to be that way, but it's just the way it worked out
Yeah.
for me.
No, definitely. No, no, Lucia, I really do appreciate you taking the time out to share your story with me and yeah, share your experience from Sydney. I for one had an amazing time in Sydney, and I'm sure a few listeners there listening, they've signed up for the ballot and they'll be all fortunate to hear in the coming weeks the good news that they get
Fingers
into to
crossed.
Sydney. Yeah, to Sydney next year, and I'm sure it's going to be even bigger and better. I think, yeah, just what they've done this year was just incredible, and they're just going to build on it. And it's just yeah, an amazing city as well to be around, but to get to run and see the iconic sites is just next level.
No, definitely is. Yeah, no, I can't wait for it next year. Fingers crossed that I do get in via the ballot.
Well, we are all crossing our fingers and our toes. I'm hoping the same as well, and me and my wife, and a few of our friends as well. So yeah, we're hoping to have a big group of people in Sydney. We're definitely hopeful that a lot of us get in, and yeah, looking forward to such an amazing event.
Awesome.
No, well, thank you so much for joining, and I do really appreciate you, as I say, sharing your story. It's been an amazing story, and yeah, until next time, as always, happy running.
Happy running. Thanks for having me.